So you found a skeleton. How would you tell if it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I don't research on that.
Hey everybody, welcome to Going Full Goblin Mode, which is Dapper Reacts 38. I'm of course here with Chesh, who has a sense of timing. It's just a weird one. That's okay.
Yes, correct.
I am drinking. I actually decided to get what Maddie was having last time when you were there for my Tuesday stream. She was having some pre-mixed Jack and Coke. And I saw it at the grocery store, and I was like, I'll give it a go. I don't really want to drink 6 beers or whatever, or just like buy a bottle of liquor. I'll just try it. So yeah, it was easy to carry home, because like the grocery store is like 3 blocks from me, so like I just walk. I don't drive to the grocery store unless I need a lot of stuff. Anyway, we're not here to talk about my grocery shopping, unless that's what people really want to talk about.
I kind of want to try this Jack. I don't really like Jack and Coke, but I am curious to try this premix. I want to see if it's any good.
Well, I mean, once we get our first drink trigger, I'll try it and I'll let you know. I'll give you a little drink review. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how long that takes. So, Chesh, I think most people here are probably at least a bit familiar with you. You were here for my 10,000 subscriber special.
Yes.
I think today I actually hit 11,000 subscribers, so now you're technically here for my 11,000 subscriber special.
I'm here for all the special things, to ruin stuff. That's what I'm here for. That's why you invite me here.
Yeah, it is. Now, I do have to say that for quite a while I was promoting today's stream as Leaving Young Earth Creationism with Dr. Zach B. Hancock. Dr. Zach couldn't come, something came up, and so I had to stoop to inviting a goblin.
Yeah, now you losers are stuck with me.
Exactly. So, we are here talking about this Pete Greer guy. You can see him here. If this is your first time on this part of Dapper Reacts. He is a pastor.
He looks like Landon that you ordered from Wish.
He does kind of look like Wish.com Landon. So, this guy is a pastor of a church out in Payson, Arizona. And I'm basically taking a look at him because while I spend most of my time responding to like PhD level professional creationists, I also want to get a sense of what people in the pews believe. Now, Pelagic coming from the ground like spaghetti tunicate for €2 says AIG is a bag of me, and we will take a drink for that.
I got lemonade and Kraken, pink lemonade specifically.
Nice.
It's actually very good. You'd be
trying
surprised.
that. I mean, it tastes like Jack and Coke. I don't know what to tell you.
Is like the mix good though? Is it a good ratio?
If anything, it might be a little heavy on the Jacks in terms of flavor, but not by a lot. I mean, it's fine. Also,
Jack is kind of harsh.
We've gotten a few more things. So there's our first drink.
Gonna be gone before we start.
I know. I'm gonna have to open up my second can.
I'm not complaining.
Okay, so let me make sure I get all this. The missing links between Kenham synapses, aka B2022, has gifted 5 memberships. Those went to Shazami Whammy, Aaron Hori, Yumao, C. Nedra, and Chas Sirius. So we'll take 5 drinks for that. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I will say I didn't chill mine enough, though. Could stand to be colder. That's my fault.
Mine could be a little bit colder too, but like the rum was in the freezer. I got these little ball ice cubes.
Ooh, fancy.
I just made the pink lemonade, so it came out of a thing in the freezer. So the only thing I could have done was make it yesterday, so that way I didn't use warm water to make it go faster.
Actually, I have one ice sphere mold, but it's a Death Star. So when you take the ice sphere out, it looks like the Death Star. That's
cool. This one has little snowflakes on it.
Oh, that's cool. Although, things like that go away almost immediately when you put the ice in a drink. Like, it's not going to sit there looking like the Death Star. Anyway,
Yeah.
Vandalia1998 says, Learning about your grocery shopping would kill less brain cells than what even this guy is going to say. Yeah, it's true.
That's not wrong.
I pledge my soul to Pella Jesus Tuna Christ. Says, here's your drink trigger, AIG Bag Dicks. $2. Okay, we'll take a drink for that. And then Savage Ray Comfort's editor, Cobra, says gifted 5 more memberships, which went to... let me scroll around. Lady V Tamora, Ernex, Kaz Noel, Trudy Stubbs, and Azo64. So here's 5 more drinks for that. My goodness, we're going to go past 10 before we even start the video. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. Well, there we go. We're at 12 already. All right. So, as you guys have seen, if you guys want to trigger triggers for us, there are a few ways. Through Super Chat or Milestone Chat, anything to the effect that AIG or a bag of dicks. We take a drink. You do have to be a little clever with it, though. So, for instance, the missing links between Ken Ham Synapses, aka B2022, has just for £2 said AIG is an Agbe of Ix Day, using some pig Latin right there. So, we'll take a drink. Very nice.
I love how creative your chat is with their names.
Oh, yeah. No, chat has... I seriously think that I have one of the best chats, if not the best chat, on all of YouTube.
They are one of my favorites to interact with.
Yeah.
They're pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, all the clever names, the great super chats, the great milestone chat, all good stuff.
The in-jokes, they're they're like a top-tier chat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Also, if you super chat or milestone chat, anything that includes one of the kaiju emojis that we have for channel members, so you do have to be a channel member for this. That includes King Ghidorah, Mothra, and Godzilla. If you super chat or milestone chat anything with those, we'll take a drink for those. Also, if you audibly hear Godzilla or Mothra come by, we'll take a drink for that. That happens occasionally, not all the time. And we take a drink for each gifted membership, although at about 30, we're going to stop saying that that's a drink per membership, and it's going to be more of a finish your drink, go get another one, and then we just add 30 to the counter. But also, there are a lot of ways that Pete can make his drink. So, for instance, if he says something that's just too stupid and I need to cool my brain off a little bit, take a drink for that. If he gets something factually correct, that's not just a quotation from someone else, but it's actually, in his brain, then he speaks it, take a drink for that. Now, if Pete brings up the National Socialist German Workers' Party, that's the NSDAP if you're looking for the acronym. Also, I mean, it was shortened in various ways. Then we'll take a drink. That also counts if he mentions, various prominent members or leaders of that political party, or various of their more historically significant activities in, say, the 20th century, especially. Sealuth, member for 6 months, at the Tetrapod level, says, my ultimate goal, get Daps to 404 drinks. With a Godzilla emoji. Take a drink. I mean, the key is actually to just...
You would do it while I'm here.
Well, yeah. The key is actually to just keep spam gifting 25 memberships. Yeah,
that would be like the most cost-effective way to do it.
It might actually be a little bit cheaper to just do AIG's a bag of dicks as a bunch of like $2 super chats, because those are $5 a pop for each membership. But
oh, your membership's more expensive than mine. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, when you get a membership, you're automatically placed at the tier where I add you to my credits.
Right.
Because there's a $1.99 membership option, but that's like you just get the early access and the emojis and whatnot, right, and the badge. But you go to 5 and suddenly your name's in the credits. So,
Oxcall said, is this Greer with Goblin?
Basically, yeah. Yep. So, we'll also take a drink if Pete Greer tells a joke that doesn't land or tells a story that didn't happen. So, for instance, if he confuses a story or a argument he had with his shampoo bottle with a real discussion he had with a Berkeley professor on an airplane, we'll take a drink for that.
We get to take 2 drinks if they do that and lose the argument that they made up.
Maybe, yeah, that seems reasonable.
I watched a guy doing that not too long ago. There's a video coming out on Monday.
That's rough. We'll also take a drink for what's called Trojan Source. Now, I don't think this will come up because Pete isn't a big one for citing like papers, but if he does cite a paper and the paper, rather than supporting his point or just failing to support it, actively contradicts it, we take a drink. Also, if he pretends that Lucy is just a representative of all Australopithecines, we'll take a drink. That one is called Ad Hominid, and we can only do it once per stream. Because once they do it once, they're going to just keep doing it, and so it's just going to be a constant, just always drinking kind of thing. So once per stream, if he confuses the specimen Lucy with just all of Australopithecus, we take a drink for Ad Hominid. I think I just covered all of them. If I didn't, predictions. Yeah, if we're not sure what's about to happen, but either Cheshire or I get it right, we take a drink. I think that's it. Anyway, here's Pete. He's talking about the flood of Noah because, of course, he is.
Because of course he is.
Yeah. Also, bear in mind his audio quality isn't great. However, it is a lot better than when I downloaded the video. This is actually the cleaned up version of his audio, which is...
It's nice of you to put the work in for him.
Yeah. I also, you can't see it, but on the stream, I've actually also done a color correction, so it looks less like they used a urine filter.
He's not in Hollywood, Mexico anymore.
Yeah, well, he's still a little bit, but, I upped the contrast a little bit. I dropped down the yellow a bunch.
He's in the nice part of Hollywood, Mexico,
right.
Not the crummy part of Hollywood.
Right, exactly. Hey, they use that same filter for, Iraq and, India and... Any place where it's hot and people think of it as poor gets the yellow filter treatment in Hollywood.
I've seen it used for if they're showing what's supposed to be the not so nice parts of Vegas in movies as well.
Yeah. Like I said, hot and poor. That's all it takes.
Yep.
If you think this place is hot and it's poor, yellow filter.
Does it have sand somewhere, maybe?
All right, here we go.
And of every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 of every sort into the ark, to keep them alive with you. They shall be male and female, of the birds after their kind, of the animals after their kind, and of every creeping thing of the earth after its kind. 2 of every kind will come to you to keep them alive.
So one of the things I want to point out is when the Bible says 2 of every creeping thing, we can look elsewhere in Hebrew literature, especially in the Bible, to see what creeping things include, right? And the answer is that it's basically all of the terrestrial invertebrates, right? So we're talking snails, ants, grasshoppers, spiders, is basically what this comes down to. And the thing that's interesting is the Bible explicitly says that the creeping things come to Noah to be saved on the ark. But most creationists explicitly state that only terrestrial vertebrates needed to be on the ark for purposes of preservation.
Right.
And they do that for a number of reasons. One is to cut down on how many animals need to be on the ark. Another one is because certain terrestrial invertebrates are very hard to keep in captivity because they have very specialized diets and all sorts of other things like that. Also, some of them are just tiny. What are you going to do with fairy flies? These are things that are less than a millimeter in size. You're going to take 2 fairy flies on? Yeah, they don't even last a year. How is it going to work for fairy flies? In case you guys are wondering, fairy flies are one of the smallest true insects. They are so small that while they are technically they're wasps, but while they do have wings, rather than having a solid wing, they actually have little hairs projecting from their wing because they're so small that at that size, the air is more like water in terms of viscosity. So they more swim with their wings through the air because they're so tiny.
That's cool.
Yeah, fairy flies are really cool.
I have one comment.
Go for it.
Why does he need to read this? I feel like you ought to have this memorized by now with how many times you give this same speech.
Honestly, I think it's a...
skill issue?
No, I actually think it's a cultural thing, right? Because Pete Greer belongs to the kind of church where, okay, everybody, open up your Bible is a really big thing, and everyone brings a Bible to church. Now, that's not every church, right? That's a particularly... Protestant, and it's a particularly especially non-liturgical Protestant thing, and that's the kind of church that Pete Greer is doing. If you're at a more liturgical Protestant church, like a very liturgical Lutheran or Methodist church, or if you're in an Anglican church or a Catholic or Orthodox church, no one's going to expect you to have a Bible with you to open up to today's reading. They're going to read it to you, and you're going to listen, and there you go. But I think with Pete's particular Christian subculture, the expectation is that you just open up the Bible whenever you need to reference the Bible.
But yeah, I think I agree with a coyote in the chat that said they read it to look authoritative.
Yeah, it could be that too.
It's a whole vibe where it's just like, oh, I'm reading this to you, and like it's not me telling you this, it's the Bible telling you this, and so that gives that additional. I don't think you're wrong. I think it's just a couple of things.
Yeah. It's like most things. I'm sure there are complex reasons.
Multifaceted.
What are you saying? There's nuance.
Ah,
At least it's not unwelcome nuance this time. All
fair
right,
enough.
here we go.
And you shall take for yourself of all food that is eaten. You shall gather it to yourself, and it shall be food for you and for them.
Vadim Smolovsky, Redchenko says, I'm not even sure Catholics are encouraged to carry their own Bibles even now. I mean, I went to a Catholic high school, and I was under the heavy impression that Catholics were encouraged to read their Bibles. Although, I don't know about, like, carrying them around all the time like Mormon missionaries. At least there's that. Now, again, that was a while ago. So, and I've never been Catholic myself. It's never been a part of I've never been religiously affiliated with the Catholic Church, so I can't say completely from firsthand, experience. But my closest association with the Catholic Church was a Catholic high school, and there was a religion class where there was a lot of reading of the Bible in that religion or theology class, whatever we call it. There was a homework that involved reading the Bible and things like that. So. Now
I imagine like comparatively it would feel like less. But
well,
in some cases.
It probably is less than most Protestant churches, and in part because there are other things in addition that the Catholic Church would like its members to read. Things like patristic texts, the catechism, things like that, right? So it's not so much that the Catholic Church is currently saying, don't read your Bible. They're saying, no, read the Bible, but also, hey, why don't you read like Tertullian or Augustine of Hippo or John Chrysostom, depending on which way we want to transliterate the Greek. Like, why don't you read some of those things? The missing links between Kenham synapses, aka B2022, for £10 says, this one is probably a bit niche. An SQL query to select all records from the Dix table linked to the bags table of a database with the bag name being AIG. You get infinite results. Obscure programming jokes.
On that one.
Yeah, nice.
Clean.
Oh, goodness. All right. That would be a great way to crash your computer, by the way. Getting infinite results is never a good time. That actually reminds me of like...
something Diablo 4 inventory system.
That reminds me of something. You know about sorting algorithms?
Mm-hmm.
So there's one that's just called like useless sort. And all it does is it randomly rearranges the items to be sorted, sees if they're sorted according to the parameters, and if not, randomly rearranges them again. So the estimated solve time for this sorting algorithm is somewhere between like a few milliseconds and the entire age of the universe.
Oh, yes.
And there's just no way to predict when. It's just
somewhere between here.
Eventually, if you let it run long enough, it will succeed. Just who knows how long that'll be. Oh, and there's
just like
Godzilla.
life.
Take a drink for Godzilla.
Life finds a way.
All right, here we go.
Thus Noah did, according to all that God commanded him, so he did. Noah was a faithful man. So we see that concept of kinds that I was talking about last week, where animals reproduce after their own kind. We have never seen an exception to that rule.
Okay, but here's the thing. I've never seen anyone explain what an exception to that rule would look like. Right?
The only one I can think of as an exception to that rule would be a created kind.
Yeah, I mean, I get it's sort of like, okay, if I say I've never seen a person give birth to a X, and you're like, well, okay, but what's X? And I'm like, I don't know. Well,
right.
Well, then how do you know you've never seen it? Now,
that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I suppose you could say, well, like, how many people have you actually watched give birth? And the answer's a pretty low number, but whatever. Like,
on average,
we're being broad here. We'll say, I've never seen any animal give birth to an animal that was X instead of Y. If you can't tell me what X is, that's a meaningless statement, right?
Right.
So
you'd have to know what X is to say that you've never
seen,
or anybody should have never seen. Yeah.
Right. And so the problem is that creationists will give definitions for kind that importantly, aren't falsifiable, right? And so what that means is they can't ever see something give birth to a different kind because they don't have a way to determine when that's happened. Because you'll get things like, oh, well, the kinds are things that can breed with each other, but even if they can't, they could still be in the same kind. And so that's how they get around things like, well, we have observed instances of speciation involving reproductive isolation. And like, well, they could have breed with each other in the past. It's like, okay, but that's the contention of evolution for just life, right? Like, now you're just saying life is a single kind, or at least could be according to your definition. But we'll know that's too broad.
Sure.
Okay, well, great. So we now have a way to say, yes, these two things are in the same kind. So we can say lions and tigers are in the same kind because they can produce tigons and ligers. Okay, cool. But are they in the same kind with, say, the binturong, which is a viverrid, which is the next closest thing to Felidae that's alive? It's like, well, no. Well, why not? I mean, if you look at the first fossil viverrid and the first fossil feline, I mean, they look almost identical.
Well, that's why you hear words like dog being used rather than canids, right? They're not gonna say, oh, all canids are the same kind, because as soon as you say all canids, you are now pulling in way too diverse of species as we know them today.
Yeah, does that include the borophagenes from, the early Pleistocene of North America? The things that were, the size of lions and had big bone-crushing jaws? I don't know, maybe.
Right, but they use words like dog instead because it will elicit the obvious, or what at least feels obvious to a layman, that wolves and pet dogs as we know them now, with completely disregarding the massive differences between certain types of wild dogs, not even including pets.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a jackal and a timber wolf hanging out. You know what I mean?
Generally, no. Although, interestingly, AIG does explicitly on their Ark encounter say that all modern extant canids form a single kind. They're less clear about they're less clear about extinct ones, right? And I don't even know if they have a statement on Hesperocyonidae, which actually I suppose I could probably check. Erica Gutsick Gibbon was very kind to us, and she took pictures of the wall displays that give the kinds list that AIG has published, as far as we can tell, nowhere else, right? This is just the only place that they've done it. And so then she typed them up into a Google Sheets document, which, holy crap, that's a lot of work, and she did not have to do that, and I am eternally grateful. Hespero... No, they don't. Scion... Let's see. I'm just looking at what they have for Scion. So they have Eodicynodontidae. That's not it. Let's see. Nope. Amphicyonidae. Okay. They have Amphicyonidae, which is interesting. So those are the bear dogs. So apparently AIG is just bear dogs are their own kind. Forget the fact that they're basically perfect morphological intermediates between bears and dogs. That's not important. They're their own kind. So yeah, the whole kind thing it's just a red herring, right? It sounds like it means something, but it doesn't. It's just like when they say information. Oh, well, you can't gain information through evolution. What does that mean?
What is information in this context?
How do we measure it? And then they'll show you things like wolves going through down smaller and smaller breeds of domesticated dogs and say that's losing information. But then you say okay, so if something is smaller, it has less information. So humans have less information than whales. And within humans, say, the Baka people of the Congo, who are the shortest known ethnic group on average, have less information than the Swedes, who are the tallest known ethnic group on average. Is that really...
Being taller or shorter inherently means more information.
Is that really what you want to go for? Is that the Baka are somehow genetically inferior to the Swedes because they're short?
We're going to get into that kind of thing, are we now?
That sounds a little iffy. So,
a little sus.
Yeah. And also, most creationists will agree that, corn, modern maize, is descended from wild teosinte grass, which it is. But, modern maize is way bigger than teosinte. Teosinte grass is just a regular grass, right? Whereas corn stalks
so therefore the corn
are gigantic.
have more
right, so does it have more information? I don't know. I mean, Teosinte...
But then you have creationists that run around and say, well, actually, you can't gain any information, you can only lose information, therefore nothing could ever get bigger, literally ever, for any reason.
Right, and despite the fact that, obviously, like, things like Irish wolfhounds are bigger than any wolf ever was, that they descended from, at least. Like, no gray wolf has ever reached the size of an Irish wolfhound.
Taller and bigger are different things. So you could say that, like, this thing is taller, but this thing is shorter, but a lot wider. Right, so what counts as more information in that case? It's arbitrary. Does my cat get more information if I overfeed it and it's fat? Like, is my cat gaining information?
Yes.
Because it's getting bigger?
I'm going to say yes.
Okay.
Vandelli 1998 for $2 says, so how many of the Goblin kind were on the Ark?
Oh, none. Everyone's racist against goblins. Nobody likes us.
How did they survive the flood?
Oh, there's aquatic goblins?
Oh, okay. The missing link between
Nope.
Kenham synapses, aka B2022, for £2 says, do we ever see the Goblin kind becoming Troll kind?
No. Okay. All right. Listen. Goblinkin is made up of 3 main groups. Your standard goblins, your bugbears, and your orcs.
What about hobgoblins?
Well, hobgoblins are a mixed race.
Are they?
Yeah.
I think it depends on which lore you're reading.
It does. It totally depends. Some people will have, like, the orcs being elves, and some people will have them be, like, elf goblins. They're basically... orcs are just the goblin version of elves, and goblins are the human version of goblins.
That was very confusing.
It makes sense. I promise.
Silver Harlow.
But yeah, the goblinkin are the hobgoblins, technically. But they're also technically half-breeds.
You know, I like...
Either way. They all follow the mighty one, Magoobliet.
I like the Eberron, if we're doing D&D, the Eberron goblins, where, like, they actually had this gigantic world-spanning empire that fell to ruin, and basically, like, you take the normal history for, like, elves in D&D, and, like, no, it's the goblinoids this time. They're the ones with the ancient great empire that some of them are trying to reestablish, and they're the ones who left behind all these crazy ruins. I like that. Anyway, Silver Harlow, who's been a member
What about Rule 34 gobos? Listen, there is a lot. Just Google it, turn your save shift off, you'll be fine. I believe in you.
And now we know what Chesh does in her spare time.
What do you mean my spare time? It's literally my job.
I mean, alright, fair enough. Look, I've taken some adult-themed commissions, too. It's okay. Silver Harlow, who's been a member for 18 months, is at the Tetrapod level, says, AUG us a bag if dukis. I'm pretty sure I know what that is. I'll take a drink for it. Alright, here we go. Also, I'm just noticing that we have, not even half of you have hit like, which means, of course, that I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve. So get on it.
That was me.
Well, it's not just you.
Kind would be about the family level on the classification system.
Which is what AIG goes with, except when it's inconvenient for them, right? So, like,
Do we know where he's starting from? Like, have we traced this guy back to, like, where, like, which branch of Young Creationism he's kind of... is he kind of amalgamating them?
He's not technically affiliated with any of the big organizations, but it seems like most of his talking points are mostly AIG, which makes sense. They are the biggest of the big 3, which is ICR, CMI, and AIG. That's Institute for Creation Research for ICR. AIG is Answers in Genesis. CMI is Creation Ministries International. And CMI used to be the same organization as Answers in Genesis until they split with a very acrimonious split that involved accusations of necrophilia and demon possession and witchcraft. All on the part of one woman, by the way. They were like, this lady is a necrophiliac, demon-possessed witch. And I was like, gee.
There's no way they said lady. They probably used the word a harlot.
Well, okay, maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen all the correspondence. But it's just like, my goodness. That's quite the accusation.
I like this lady already.
All right, here we go.
Never seen one family of animals change to become another family of animals.
What would that look like? Like, really, that's a serious question.
I know, it's like when you get married and you become part of another family, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is...
It's like, maybe it's more like adoption.
So, like, we have transitional sequences that go between families, right? Like we mentioned earlier, morphologically, the amphicyonids are...
Can you stop dying, please?
No, I can't.
Cut that out?
No. So, morphologically, the amphicyonids, right? They're morphologically intermediate between canids and ursids. Well, more like
Right.
Arctoidea, which is a wider group than Ursidae. It includes like pinnipeds and like raccoons and bears and eilurids and whatnot. Whatever. They're morphologically intermediate between canids and Arctoideans. Cool. But also, we can look at like dinosaurs, where we have like Protoceratopsids and Leptoceratopsids and Ceratopsids, which within them all have morphological intermediates going between these different families. So, not only do I not know exactly what it would look like for an animal to give birth to an animal of another family, like naturally, without humans fiddling in there,
Yeah.
we have transitional species between families. So, like, now you could say, oh, well, Leptoceratops, it's classified in its own family, Leptoceratopsidae. Yeah, we could have put it somewhere. We have to put a label on it. It doesn't change anything.
It doesn't, and the label's not necessarily permanent either. If we find something else or learn something else more, we can move it.
Right, exactly. So, like, we have exactly what we would expect to see if animals can form what essentially we call new families. But the other thing you got to remember is that the designation of family is arbitrary, right? So,
right.
We have a few kind of hard definitions for species, right? Where we can say with pretty high confidence, this is one species, this is another. It gets fuzzy, but once we get to genus, what's a genus? It's just a collection of related species. How related? As related as you think is reasonable. And then...
I mean, isn't there also something to be said about, like, if you look at it from, like, a human, like a human genealogy type, like angle? And I don't mean, like, I mean, like, a literal genealogy, like your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, right? There are degrees of separation where people no longer consider themselves close enough of a family relation to disallow things like marriage, even societally. So that would be considered a new family.
Yeah,
someone's all like, still coming from the same place.
Oh, you're dating your cousin? It's like, yeah, my fifth cousin once removed. Like, that's, do you know how many,
right.
You know what a large group of people that is? My fifth cousin.
It's very large.
Yeah. Silver Harlow's for $5 says the joke of also bag of that one, it's misspelled AIG's bag of dicks, was moving the right hand one key to the left. Cheers.
That's so funny. That's clever. I like that.
But hey, there was a Godzilla and a Mothra and a King Ghidorah, and so that means we drink. And of course, Savage Ray Comfort's editor Cobra says AIG is a bag of small antelopes in genus Bondoqua, which, in case you guys don't know, that's the Dick Dick.
The Dick Dick.
Dick Dicks are adorable, by the way.
They're so cute.
It's D-I-K and D-I-K. I think there's usually a dash or something. Like, Google it at some point.
Just type in Dick Dick, spell it however you want, turn safe, shop. You'll be fine. I believe in you.
Do it on your work computer, too. That's important.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely do it there.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
We've only seen kinds have variations which produce more of their own kind. Like the dog kind was used last week as the example.
Hey, dog. I think that counts as a prediction. We're taking a drink for
that
it.
Prediction?
Yep.
Yeah.
Good job, Josh.
The dogs have...
Had to drop the F-bomb for me.
Much variation, but tests show through mitochondrial DNA that they probably came from two wolf-like animals.
That's true.
Two wolf-like animals.
I mean, it's wolves, but you know what? Wolves are wolf-like animals. Just like
I think you're stretching there a little bit, but okay.
Just like cats.
I think you just want to drink.
Well, I mean, you know,
cats are by definition cat-like animals.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true, right? It's true. So here's the thing, though. Genetics, the same kinds of genetic studies, right, say that wolves and bears descend from an amphicyonian-like animal, and that canids, caniforms, there we go, descend from a common ancestor with fellow forms, right? So we get this ancestral carnivoran that looks a lot like the genus Meiosis, which is a real genus, right? And so we have these genetic tests, and we have fossils that correspond to what we should expect for the morphology of the common ancestors. So everything about modern carnivora looks like it shares common ancestry. But then you can widen that, right? You can get Philodota, the pangolins. Genetically, now we don't have a great transitional fossil for this, but genetically, they tie themselves most closely to the carnivorans in Ferae, right? And then that group also has genetic ties to the artiodactyls and parasodactyls, the hoofed animals, in Ferungulata, because the parasodactyls and artiodactyls together are ungulata. So that's like cows and horses and hippos and tapirs and rhinos and deer and giraffes. They all unite with the carnivorans under Ferungulata, or actually with the Ferae, right, which is the carnivorans plus that. And then all that together groups up with like the primates and the rodents and the lagomorphs. So it's like primates like, the humans, rodents like rats and beavers, and lagomorphs like rabbits and hares, and also colugos. So, they're in there too. So where does it stop?
The thing is that one of the things that confuses me about this is that these are, particularly when it comes to young Earth creationism, it is a group of people trying to say that God's creation should be simply obvious to people. Well, also, most of the theology touts that God ought to be unknowable to us. So it doesn't make sense for God's creation to wholly be, what's the word I'm looking for when something is, intuitive? Like, it doesn't make sense for God's work to be intuitively understood by people. So it would follow from a theological standpoint for God's creation to be complicated and needing to use complex studies and a lot of work and effort to be able to even attempt to begin to understand what was going on.
I mean, that's more theological than I'm likely to get at this juncture, but I can see that.
That's fair. It's just a thought that I'm just like, it seems like another list of the reasons why young Earth creationism seems to be inconsistent.
Okay, I'm not even sure what. I guess it's probably German. Antworten im ein Mosche? I'm going to go with Mosche. Ist ein Bürtelwoller Glider. Which I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm assuming that's an AIG as a bag of dicks, and I mispronounced it because, guess who's bad at German? It's this guy.
I'm going to Google Translate it.
Okay.
Answers to Genesis is a bag full of members. It was German, you're correct.
Yay, it was German. Wait, are we sure it wasn't
According to Google.
Can it reliably distinguish between German and Austrian?
Can Google do that? I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Tell me something and type me something in Austrian and we'll see what it detects.
All right, here we go.
Science.
And if you're a creationist, you go, the Ark. And if you're an evolutionist, you say, we don't really know where they came from or what they became later, but we know they came from two wolf-like animals. I called that a philosophical jail. They can't recognize the evidence that's right in front of their face if it points towards the Bible.
Wow, that's a whole lot of projection right there.
Please do not bring philosophy to the table, K-Thex.
Pete Greer really does need to open up a movie theater because he is an expert projectionist.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They will reject it and come and just explain it away. So this is the sad state that we're in. But this, once again, reaffirms the animal kinds, the concept of kinds in the Bible.
Okay, so the fact that genetically all canids are linked confirms the idea of kinds. But the fact that that's also true for just, all of life doesn't provide evidence that all of life is essentially the same kind. Right? Because if we define kind as just a group of organisms that share common ancestry, that do not share common ancestry with other organisms, well, then all of life on Earth is one kind. And maybe if we find life on another planet, that'll be another kind. Fine. Cool.
Sure.
So what evolution is just saying is that all of life is one kind in that kind of situation. Which, okay, that's a position to take, right? You have to look at that and you have to argue for or against it. Sure. But
yeah.
What it also means is that by that definition, evolution doesn't say that things change in kind. It just says that there's only one kind. And so you could use the same kind of argument, like, okay, the genetic links that show that all of these things are, related to common ancestors shows that they're all the same kind. Great. That works for humans and mushrooms. It works for pine trees and elephants. I still have that shirt, by the way.
I brought that up in somebody else's chat that is like a D&D thing. They have no idea what I'm talking about.
We need to make a D&D monster that's like a hybrid pine tree elephant.
Pine tree elephant?
Yeah.
I have art.
Nice. All right. Danny Isinga for €6 says creationists need to stop worrying about their missing link and start worrying about the missing line.
Line of coke? Trying to lie.
Goodness,
cocaine?
Chesh does not like it when I'm monetized, is what happens. She does not want me to be monetized. That's what I'm getting.
I'm just jealous about how much you've grown. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. All right, here we go.
There are some animals that didn't have to go on the Ark.
Okay, if he says things that count as creeping things after he himself read the verse that said that the creeping things came to Noah, I am going to take a drink for that. Because that right there, that's some bullshit. He read it. He read it himself. Savage, Ray Comfort's editor Cobra for $5 said, Canids are one kind because of genetic similarity, but hominins are not because of reasons. Yeah, that's...
Like the candy?
All right, let's see what we got here.
Did I drop the first F-bomb already? Did I do that?
Not that I remember. No, not that I remember.
I don't think I did it yet.
No, you as far as I know, you haven't.
Some
I usually
animals
like to pick and choose my times.
Yeah, no, you do. I appreciate that.
could survive without going on the Ark. All the water-dwelling animals could survive without the Ark. People think they had to put every species on there. No. If there was 50, let's say, species of dogs, they only had to take 2 dogs on the Ark. So that really cut down the number. So we'll get into this a little more depth pretty soon.
Okay, so the funny thing about this, right, is it is an attempt to get the Ark to make sense, right? Because physically speaking, if you put every species on the Ark, it just doesn't work. And I want to point out that the reason that we have the word...
an attempt.
Yeah, the reason we use the word species to refer to animals in like a specific way, which, note, the connection etymologically between specific and species, yeah, there's a reason for that. Anyway, in the Vulgate, the Latin translation of the Bible that St. Jerome made way back in the day, the Hebrew word mean, that in English translations is translated as kind, he translated with the word species. The word species is in the Bible. It refers to the kind in Genesis. Now, when Carolus Linnaeus was looking to formalize his classification system for living things, he picked species as the word to refer to the smallest grouping of organisms that he had, because those were the things that he thought of, and that had traditionally been thought of, as being created by God. God created the golden jackal, and the gray wolf, and the lion, and the tiger, and the leopard, and the cheetah.
And the bears, oh my.
Right, and the brown bear, the black bear, the polar bear, the sun bear, the spectacled bear, I don't know, all the bears, right? He created all of these species, because that's what it says in the Vulgate for kind. So when the ancient people, or not necessarily ancient, but like when medieval people are reading this, when it says Noah took 2 of every species on the Ark, that's what they thought. If there's a species that they see now, it was on the Ark. So God took 2 great tits on the Ark, and he took 2 robins on the Ark, and 2 swallows on the Ark, and 2 boobies. Actually, there's like 3 species of boobies, so like 6 boobies.
Oh, 6 boobies!
It's a lot of boobies. And like...
Noah needed a lot of boobies.
And 2 shags. It's another kind of bird. There's a lot of really great bird names out there, like boobies and shags and tits.
Whoever is naming the birds had a sense of humor.
I feel like it was like a 10-year-old boy from like England.
I like the idea that it was Adam.
Yeah, there's Adam's mysteriously naming all these birds in English.
Before Eve existed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's another good point. That is before Eve existed. Even then, he was like, No, I know what I actually want. It's not. Yeah.
I'm a man. I've got things on my brain. It's boobies.
Anyway, this later idea that maybe what the Bible refers to as species in Latin are actually this bigger taxonomic distinction that was a post-biblical invention itself. And also, remember, families are arbitrary, right? Families are a collection of similar genera, and genera are a collection of similar species. That's two levels of arbitrariness right there.
Right.
Families aren't a real thing in the world. Sorry. So, yeah, this is a late post-biblical invention that is just there to rationalize the fact that the actual kinds that everyone thought of up until the 20th century couldn't all fit on the Ark.
It's basically just arguing semantics.
Yeah. By the way, these are formerly known as Fearmonger. Basically, Linnaeus published under a Latinized name, and so since he published under that name, I'm happy to call him Carolus Linnaeus. If he had only published under his actual given name, then I'd be more inclined to call him that. So,
how dare you?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake Nelson in the chat said James Bond was a Scotsman named Sean Connery. No, he was a Spaniard.
Goodness. Yeah, the fact that Sean Connery...
Do you invite me here?
For chaos. I mean, look, the name of the stream is Going Full Goblin Mode. Yeah.
This is my Kermit the Frog impression.
The kinds is very important, that we realized they didn't have to get every little minor variation of dogs and put it on the Ark. They just needed the genetically perfect ones that God brought to the Ark.
Genetically perfect, huh? Take a drink for that, we'll talk about it. Okay, so, what does it mean to be genetically perfect?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good...
Aryan, I think. Something about the Socialist Germans Party.
Yeah, it does sound like something the National Socialist German Workers' Party would come up with. So here's the thing, right? Let's say that you are a canid. You're an Arctic wolf.
Highlanders are obviously
yes,
genetically perfect. Like the quickening. They can only be genetically perfect when there is only one.
Yes, yeah, it purifies their genome every time.
Oh no, the one Jet Li. So like he's imperfect until he kills all the other Jet Lis.
Actually, I gotta be honest, the Highlander thing, there can only be one, never really made a lot of sense. Like, why?
No.
You seem to be doing just fine. Yeah.
There's no reason. Like, there is, especially when they brought in the TV show, because in the TV show, Duncan MacLeod and Connor MacLeod both know each other exist, and they just leave each other alone.
Yeah, there's nothing about the Highlander thing makes sense in terms of there can only be one.
And Sean Connery teaches Connor, and they're fine. Like, they don't kill each other.
Yeah, it
makes
all...
no sense.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so yeah, you have an Arctic wolf, right? So now, the Arctic wolf, let's pretend it's perfectly suited to its environment, right? There is no way to take the genome of the Arctic wolf and better adapt it to being a wolf in the Arctic. You know, it's got any move away from its current biochemistry and morphology is a downgrade. Yeah. Cool, awesome. Okay, so let's take a pack of these genetically perfect Arctic wolves and put them in Saudi Arabia. How's that going to work out for them?
Yeah.
Probably pretty bad. At least for a few generations. Maybe they'll adapt.
Assuming they survive long enough to adapt, yeah.
But the thing is, will these adaptations, which take them away from what we described as a perfect genome, will they be degradations? Or will they be going to a new perfect genome? The answer is
will they be able to go back?
Right. And the answer is there's no way to tell, really. Because how good a genome is depends on the environment, and environments change. So there's no such thing as a perfect genome. It doesn't exist. Genomes are at best well suited to a particular environment, but that doesn't make them perfect. It just makes them currently adapted to a present environment. Or even a past environment. For instance, the American pronghorn, sometimes called the American antelope. It's not actually an antelope, but whatever. This is an animal that has the highest jump height of any animal in the entire world, and is like the second fastest land animal. But why?
It's like when people try to classify like the best animal at any given thing. They're like, what's the best bird?
Well, right, but
and it's like, oh, what are you measuring?
But I'm making a point about like how you can be adapted to a previous environment. Do you know why the pronghorn is the highest jumping animal in the world and like the second fastest land animal? It's because it used to be preyed on by the American cheetah.
Right.
And so in order to escape the American cheetah, those were really important adaptations. But currently,
Right.
other than being able to jump over fences to get to like grass behind fences, this doesn't really help them there that much. They don't need to be that fast to escape from wolves or mountain lions or bears. They don't need to be able to jump that high to get most places.
Oh my.
Yeah. So
No tigers?
no, there are no North American tigers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Tigers are pretty well restricted to Asia and Oceania, whatever.
For now.
So like then there's the question. So is the
Tell that to the Tiger King.
well, okay, there are no wild tigers in North America. There are actually lots of tigers in North America.
Tell that to the Tiger King.
Well, maybe when he gets out of prison. I still love that he was trying to get Donald Trump to pardon him. Like, why, dude?
That was so funny.
Didn't work out.
Oh.
Anyway, so is the pronghorn no longer perfect because one of its predators is now gone? Because it was perfectly adapted to having that predator around, maybe. Let's just say it was. But now that the predator's gone, it has all these abilities that they're costly to develop, right? It takes energy to make your muscles and your bones as strong as it takes for you to be able to leap over like 2-meter tall fences. Like, that's ridiculous.
No longer needs to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, is it no longer perfect because something else went extinct? See, the whole idea of a perfect genome just doesn't make any sense.
The only thing I can think of, like, that would be described as a perfect genome would be, like, whatever the original one that God made first. Everything after that is no longer perfect. So comparing the perfect genome to now, it would be nonsensical. But on top of that, it's already a nonsensical statement because you would still need to be able to... We're back to you have to be able to describe X to know that X exists or doesn't exist.
Yeah. DM.
You don't have to necessarily... It's one of those things where it's like, it's weird where you can say like, hey, listen, I don't know what the right answer is, but I know this answer is wrong, is valid. But if you say that I have never seen this, but you can't define this, then it doesn't work.
DM, where the butler's wing, hashtag Triconodont Justice, for $5 says, where are they, Dapper? What aren't you telling us? With a dinosaur, and then a sword, and then a mouse, and then 3 drops of blood emojis. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be hiding. But thank you. Okay, here we go.
Where are the perfect genomes, Dapper?
Oh, nowhere. They don't exist.
So, that's chapter 6, and here's a few things to...
By the way, the fact that this is basically completely washed out is a problem with the original video. It's not just my color correction. It's terrible.
The Nova Saber in chat said, does Mewtwo have the perfect genome? No, but Arceus does.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, didn't Arceus like create the entire universe or some crap?
Yeah, Arceus is God Pokemon, yes.
And then you can just put him in a Pokeball for some reason.
Yeah, but then you've also got, like, Mewtwo, who's supposed to be, like, genetically spliced, so there's got human interference, so that can't be perfect, right? But you can't really go to Mew either, because they've basically gone extinct, so if they're perfect, why would they be going extinct? So the next one you could possibly go to is probably Jirachi, who's basically, like, a space alien that can bend reality to create wishes, or your next one would be Celebi, because Celebi is, like, crazy, but, you know, whatever.
You know, I feel like if Arceus is supposed to be like
deep lore
God, and then you can trap God in a Pokeball, in combat, it's not nearly as effective as the lore would indicate.
Well, you could say that about any Pokedex entry.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Talk about that. The Ark, Noah and Sons Incorporated, 4040 Downpour Road.
Oh, that's a joke that didn't land. We'll take a drink for that.
And also, Arceus is a creator Pokemon deity, not an all-powerful god as described in, like, Christian works. So it just means that the Pokemon, because they worship it as a god, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a god, as in it has to be all-powerful or anything like that.
I think Vadim Stamovsky Radchenko has it. To get the perfect genome, you must cross Mew with Shadow the Hedgehog. Don't listen to Chesh. I think that's it.
I am the ultimate life form. Chaos control.
Like, what's an ark?
Okay, what's an ark? I know it's just a joke, but here's the thing. The word for ark in the Hebrew, which I don't remember exactly what it is, but it just means like a container for holding valuable stuff, right? So like if you go into a typical like D&D dungeon and you find a chest, you use the same word to describe that. So the ark is not a new concept. And also, well, so like what's the question really? Like, is it what's a boat? Like if we accept the historicity of the Noah's Ark narrative, did people just not go on the water? Did no one fish? Did no one sail anywhere before the flood? I don't see why not. The ocean would still have been full of things to eat.
You know, they could have had boats then because they could have gone out fishing for food, even though they shouldn't have. That, you know, everybody's ideas were evil continually by this time.
So they had boats, but apparently they didn't just have places to put your valuables. That's what I'm hearing from Pete
Never
here.
heard of a bag.
Yeah.
No
Bag,
pockets.
Pockets, yeah. Purse, handbag, no. Pelagic marinara is from the marinara trench tuna kit. Nice. For €2 says, don't lie to us, perfect genome is in Ditto. Oh.
Okay, alright. Maybe, but...
I'll just say,
Maybe, but...
Ditto can breed with everybody.
Ditto can breed with everybody except for legendaries who have no gender identification, making them both non-binary and asexual generally. However, lore-wise, deep Pokemon lore, this isn't even deep lore, this is like in the first game. Ditto is the popular theory is that Ditto are the failed attempts at cloning Mew. And they just bred like rabbits because they could breed with anything.
Yeah,
So
they can.
they got out and were just like, we're everywhere now. It's just like, oops.
That actually
But then
kind of reminds.
Porygon exists, so
That actually kind of reminds me of D&D doppelgangers, who like, whenever they adopt a humanoid form that has a specific sex, they can then reproduce. But they basically never get pregnant because they're like, screw that, I don't want to take 9 months out of my life. So they basically only reproduce as males and then just leave.
Later.
Like, bye!
I don't know if that would work. That wouldn't even work for every Pokemon because Horsey and Seadra and Kingdra exist. And there are some Pokemon that are exclusively male or exclusively female.
Well, I feel like doppelgangers probably aren't going to be reproducing with Horsey. So I don't think we have to worry about that too much.
I mean, the size and like the amount of the Rule 34 that exists. Like...
Also, don't doppelgangers have to adopt humanoid forms?
In D&D, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So you could do like a Gallade or like a Gardevoir or like the Gothitech or a Jinx or probably actually what it would probably classify as is the egg, like the egg group would be like the humanoid egg group. Like and you know who's in there? You know who Game Freak put in that egg grouping?
No.
Vaporeon.
Okay, well.
They know what they're doing. They knew what they did.
Yeah. Vandelli 1998 for $5 first says Godzilla, so we'll take a drink. I'm really far away from 404 drinks. Says, do you think Noah and his kids looted everyone's valuables after they got off the Ark? It was free for the taking. Citation needed. I mean, if they found something,
they could find it.
Yeah, like why? I mean, I guess why not, right?
What value would most of that stuff have in a post-flood world, though?
You might be able to find like a practical, like a knife or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, I found this knife. I'm going to use it to help build my house. I don't know.
So they were told to eat the plants, right? That's what God told them, but they're not obeying God. So they might be out getting a little fish flesh to eat.
Oh, no.
So but they something this size, they really had no use for it because even creationists believe that it was all one landmass. So if you wouldn't say...
Okay, yeah, so there's the thing, right? Creationists kind of vacillate between whether the pre-flood world was Pangea or Rodinia, the supercontinent before Pangea. And either one is a little absurd, since, you can't actually get plates to move that fast underwater without just melting. But, it's a thing to note. Most creationists do not deny the existence of Rodinia or Pangea. They just think that they split apart and maybe formed and then split apart under the flood.
Chat's killing me, I'm not gonna lie.
It's because chat is amazing. I have the best chat.
Guys are killing me.
All right, but
Do you
guys,
think I'm here for the chaos? It's not me, it's them.
Oh, yeah.
They did this.
Oh, no, I know. But hey, we're going to take a quick break, and then we will be right back after break time. So, see you in a little bit. And we are back. Welcome back, Chesh. Did you have a good break?
Hello! I had to pee, and I feel much better now.
Yay! Did you get a new drink?
I still have enough left that I didn't get a new one yet.
Oh my goodness. You say that
I
now.
also have, like, a little bit off to the side.
Ah.
Yeah, I've been drinking this, so I have this really bad habit of when I'm playing drinking games of drinking my alcohol anyway, just because I'm thirsty and want to drink my alcohol. So I have tea off to the side that I've been sipping on so that way I can drink more without, like, drinking more.
Yes, no, I get it. All right, well, oh, it just occurred to me I didn't change the text at the top of this set. My idea was like, I'm going to change out the text every time, but it's the same one from last time. Oh, well, next time maybe, if I remember. Well, now that we're back, I'm going to go on my quick post-break commercial, which is to say that, hey, this channel is pretty much entirely supported directly by viewers. Sure, ad money is a thing, but, like, I think the most I've ever made...
when I'm here.
Well, yeah, not when Chesh is here. I think the most I've ever made from just ads on YouTube in a month, and this is like the most, is like $250, maybe.
That was higher than I expected.
Yeah, well, I've had some really good months.
It's not good, basically.
Yeah, I've had some really good months, but that's where it comes in, right? It's like around there. So this channel depends on support, and so some of the great, easy ways to support are first the Patreon. That's where I get the highest percentage of the money that you pledge to me. You can go annual for a 12% discount. Starts at only $1 a month. You get early access to my videos. I'm sorry, a little cough. Early access to my videos. You could pay to make my cough go away. I don't know. Might not work. But like, there's like 5 months worth of videos up there.
You live in America, right? You gotta pay for your medical care.
It's true. Yeah. At $5, you can get your name in the credits. At $20, I'll say your name. There's other perks. You can get the channel memberships. There's a join button below this video. You'll get basically the same perks. Starts at $1.99. Still get early access. Either way, you can get into my special Discord server just for supporters. If that's not it, you don't want to do a monthly or an annual thing, there's a merch store. It's linked in the description. Also, Bent has a Patreon linked in the description if you want to get like behind the scenes stuff about his music. You can toss him a few bucks there. Now, if a monetary support isn't something that you can afford or want to do, that's great. That's fine. Please just make sure you hit like, share these videos, comment on the videos, watch a few videos in a row of mine, and that'll help the channel grow too. So we've had a really good month last month. We got 600 something subscribers that month. So yeah, that's why we're at 11,000 now instead of 10,000. So, hey. Which apparently every time I get to a new 1,000, I got to bring Chesh on. Maybe that's the new rule. Yeah. So if you want to see Chesh again, just get more people to subscribe. If you never want to see Chesh again, I guess unsubscribe.
Make sure you go and unsubscribe from my channel. Don't go there. Please do not. If you want to see more of me, it's a mistake. You're just getting fooled. Don't do it.
Chesh's channel is linked in the description, by the way. Oh,
do not click that link. Do not go there. It is a silly place.
There is also an Amazon wishlist for both me and Bent in the description if you want to get us fun stuff. For me, it's mostly fun stuff. It's like RPG books is almost all of it. Yeah. I did get the Lord Draken helmet that I was wearing at the beginning of my 10,000 subscriber special from my wish list. Someone got that for me. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's hear what Pete has for us. Pete, it's your turn.
Sailing out there, you would never hit land again unless you went all the way around the Earth. So,
yes, Pete, that is what would happen if you only had one landmass. The rest would have to be water.
Gopher was.
Does he know there's land under the water?
Well, I mean, is ocean floor land? I don't know. But also,
it's Earth.
This is another joke that is just not funny. We're taking a drink for it. All right.
Big controversy. It says the Ark was made out of gopher wood, but I finally found out the key to this.
That's not a big controversy. No one cares. Like, I can't think of anyone whose primary objection to the story of Noah's flood is, well, I don't know what kind of wood that is. Okay, like, I can't imagine why anyone would be like, oh, well, that's the reason I stopped believing in Noah's flood. Yeah, okay, sure.
Somebody just transcribed it wrong. It's supposed to be gopher wood, not gopher wood. See?
The Hebrew scribes got it wrong because they weren't good enough in English, the language that wouldn't exist for thousands of years.
Yay.
So somebody that was writing down the Bible made a mistake. No, actually, that's just a little joke. Okay, let's go on.
Oh my goodness, that was a joke. It didn't land. I'm going to take a drink for it. Look, if you end a joke with, that was a joke, probably wasn't a very good joke.
Explain it. Explain the joke.
Or sometimes it's one of those Schrodinger's asshole jokes. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
yes.
You say the really, really crappy thing, and then when someone calls you on it, you're like, it was just a joke, bro.
Yeah, if you laugh, then it was funny and you're fine. If you don't laugh, it was just a joke, bro.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Oh, wait. Vandali1998 for $5 says, does seeing more at Chesh per 1K subs the same going up or down? No, it's only up. Like, if you drop to 9K, would you do a Chesh special again? No. No. It's like a ratchet, right? Only going up. Yeah. Savage Ray
That would
Comfort.
be really funny.
It would. Savage Ray Comfort's editor, Cobra, for $5 says, has Pete figured out if lungs have anything to do with respiration yet? I'm not sure. I think maybe later he'll talk about like dinosaurs and birds, because they always do. In which case we'll find out more about what he thinks about lungs, because they always love to focus on how bird lungs differ from mammal lungs, which is weird, because no one is suggesting that birds evolved from mammals. But for some reason, they just assume that everyone has lungs like mammals except for birds, which is just not true. DM, where the butler's wing? Hashtag Triconodont Justice, which, by the way, I think that's Triconodont. I'm not really sure, though. Says, he wants to pretend they never existed. Don't believe the lies. Where are your butlers, Dapper? Where did you hide the pods? Oh, my butler. Yeah, no, he's around. Yeah, he's
the unseen servant.
Well, so I have a Triconodont butler that does things like, it fixes my tie to my neck and, does most of my typing because my stupid little dinosaur hands can't type anything. He just doesn't like being on camera. You can hear him in at least one of my videos. I did a collaboration with FTFE where you can hear the voice of my butler. Because he doesn't like being
How long ago was that?
2.5 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Yep. It was for his series Stupid Humans, which I don't think is still currently running anymore. But most of his Stupid Human videos had a collaboration partner, and I was the first one.
Yeah, I remember him asking me for art about it.
Oh. All right, then. For $5, Dapper, did you call Chesh a ratchet? Not cool. No, I said it's like a ratchet when she appears, right? It only ratchet ups.
Like the Ratchet and Clank ratchet.
Or the Ratchet from Nurse Ratchet, or One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which, by the way, I liked the show Ratchet. I thought that was a good show. Anyway.
So I got the Creation Museum.
That was not me copying.
They have a representation of a little part of the Ark, and it just showed the guys up there building it.
Come on, man. You're making me look bad, whoever you are, random audience guy. I'm supposed to be the one inappropriately coughing.
In their conversations, that we don't know how many people worked on the Arks. Some people say it was just Noah and his family. Other people say, well, no, he could have certainly, Noah was probably a man of renown. And
all right, look, here's what I'm going to ask, right? Put one in the chat if you have ever heard people use Noah didn't have enough manpower, or I don't know what the wood is, as an objection to why the Noah's Ark story can't be true. Put a 2 in the chat if you've never seen those used as serious objections to the Noah's Ark story. Because, as far as I can tell, he's just making up problems that no one really has. Right?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard somebody mention that seriously. I've heard people talk about, like, the animal care that would be required, and the amount of people that the Ark encounter would need to have to sustain the animals if the Ark was supposedly realistic. But that's criticisms of Ken Ham's Ark and his presentation, not criticism of the flood story.
Oh no, apparently some people actually have heard these used as legitimate disagreements, but most people have not. Okay, so I guess it does...
I've never heard it as legit. I've definitely heard people bring it up as like, oh yeah, but even if you did, how would you even this? And it's always like a flippant, not like a real...
Well, look, if some people here have heard these points made as serious objections to the Ark, then I guess fair enough. I would still want to spend my time on the more devastating objections, like the heat problem, or how could you possibly care for that many animals for that long with only 8 people? Where would you put all the food? How would you keep the water fresh.
Well, that second one might fall under kind of your question, right?
I guess a little bit, yeah.
How would you care for all those animals, right? Like it's also like a far more of like a layman problem than like a something that like people with PhDs would be arguing about as well. So you'd likely more hear it as an objection to.
Unless you have a PhD
sort of
in like zoo
rhetoric.
administration or something, which I don't know if that's a thing.
Sure.
But I
Yeah.
I will say I love every time AIG puts up on Twitter their congratulations or whatever to their zoo staff, and it's like 12 or 13 different people caring for like a couple hundred animals. It's like, that's an interesting staff to animal ratio you've got going there, Ark Encounter. What does that say for the plausibility of the Noah's Flood story? Also, I noticed you don't house any of these animals in the Ark.
If Ken Ham isn't actively in there shoveling shit 24/7, I'm not
Right,
interested.
Exactly. Oh, man.
Probably had some, material possessions that he could use to pay people, and so perhaps he
Yeah, I'm perfectly happy saying that if the Noah's Ark story is true, he could have paid laborers. Fine.
Why would he need to what value would money have in a post-flood world?
No, a pre-flood world.
Like, yeah, but he's saying to pay laborers for taking care of the animals.
No, he's saying to build the Ark.
I thought he was saying. I thought he brought up the animal care and not having enough.
This is
this
just to construct the Ark. He's paying construction.
Oh,
workers.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought the story was supposed to be that he didn't pay workers because nobody believed him that a flood was coming, and that was part of like the sin.
Well, I think the
Not
idea
that that's
is
actually
like
down anywhere.
even if people think your construction project is stupid, if you pay them enough, yeah, they'll do it. Like a number of the people who helped build the Ark Encounter weren't Christians. They weren't people who believed in this Noah's Ark story. They were just like, I'm getting paid to do a job. I show up and I do the job, and then I take my money.
Right.
And I don't care how dumb the Ark is.
I just think that it would be dishonest of Noah to pay people money that's not going to have any value in a post-flood world.
Especially since they're going to be dead.
Right.
But then again, I mean, what if he did two things? What if he was like, look, the flood is coming, and you can get on this Ark if you repent and help me build it. But if you don't want to repent and help me build it, I'll instead give you some money if you don't believe me. And then you can help me build the Ark. At that point, I'd say, well,
that's more fair.
That seems fair. Like, you don't have to believe Noah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course, we're also talking about like fair labor practices in a non-existent time before a non-existent flood. So we're basically arguing.
Yeah, but I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a godly man that God chose to be fair.
I mean, remember that time that King David slept with some guy's wife and then had that guy killed?
What?
I mean, I'm just saying, people quote unquote chosen by God don't have a track record of being perfect individuals when it comes to the Bible.
Yeah. As you do.
Yeah.
Hired workers to help him. They wouldn't all been believers, but everybody's looking for a little more money, maybe, even back in those days when food was plentiful just on the face of the earth. At any rate,
wasn't this after the fall when God said that Adam would have to work for his food and toil?
What did that even mean? That food was plentiful on the face of the earth, that you could just walk, like there was just food laying around and you didn't have to do anything?
Presumably, yeah. Which contradicts the curse of Adam. Or the curse.
Well, it also contradicts the entire story of Cain and Abel.
Yeah, right. Why was one of them a shepherd and the other one a farmer if food was just everywhere? Also,
and why would that food be better or worse?
Also, the story of Cain and Abel also somewhat contradicts the idea that people weren't eating meat before the flood, because what you do with sacrificed animals in the like context of ancient Hebrew religion is you sacrifice the animal, right? And then there are certain parts that you burn on an altar as an offering. But then what do you do with the rest of it? Well, you eat it. You give some to the person who officiates at the sacrifice, but if that's you, then, I mean, you get the whole thing, I guess. And then the people who brought the animal eat some of it, right? So when people are like, oh, this is a sacrifice, well, I mean, you're still getting some food out of this, right? Like, it's sort of like a ancient religious barbecue. You bring your spotless lamb or whatever. It gets sacrificed. Some of the choice cuts get burnt on the altar. And then you get lamb chops. And you eat some lamb chops with your family. as part of the whole sacrifice ritual. So presumably, the first of a flock that was brought by Abel was then eaten by Abel, and maybe the rest of the family. So, yeah, the whole idea of like, and also the idea of there being clean and unclean animals. Clean for what purpose? Because Noah is told to take 7 of the clean animals. Well, if you're not eating any animals, then what does it really mean for them to be clean or not? I don't know. So yeah, it's just another one of those, like, if you want to take the Bible literally, you have to choose which parts. Because you can't take all of it literally. Because if you do, it's internally inconsistent.
Yep.
This is not directly dealt with in Scripture, so they're just kind of showing what could have happened, what it could have looked like. And then there's another depiction of the Ark. You're going to see different shapes and everything to it. Because guess what? We've never seen it. We just know what the dimensions were from the front to the back, how wide it was and how tall it was.
I'm going to say I actually like AIG's Ark better because that looks extremely unstable.
I like that this guy has to preface to his congregation that what they're talking about isn't necessarily 100% accurate, and that Ken Ham just had to kind of fill in the blanks.
Well, this one isn't even
nice acknowledgement.
Ken Ham's Ark.
Yeah, but he was talking about the Ark Encounter versus this one that he's presenting now. Yeah.
This one has a higher internal volume, but looks even less stable.
Yay.
Describes the windows.
Actually, it says there was 1 window, my guy. Let's just take a drink for you not even knowing how many windows are supposed to be in Noah's Ark. Of course, the Ark Encounter itself has an industrial scale HVAC unit. You know why? Because it would be a death trap otherwise. Because there's not enough ventilation. That's why I always like to say that Ken Ham even built a biblically accurate version of Noah's HVAC system, housed in a concrete building attached to the Ark.
I like the idea that Noah's version of like a high industrial vac system would be like a bunch of angels standing near the windows waving.
I like it.
Intervals.
No, I like that. Yeah.
The door, a few of the things. But other than that, it's kind of open to speculation. And some people say this, but you can see the dinosaurs are drawn to scale, so there's no problem getting dinosaurs on there.
What do you mean drawn to scale? What are those? There's no one scale for a dinosaur, right? Dinosaurs varied from like a few dozen centimeters across to like many hundreds of feet tall or a few hundred meters tall or whatever units we're using. I don't know, imperial, metric. It's all chaos. But yeah,
but is he suggesting that dinosaurs were then on the Ark? Because I feel like that's something that a lot of creationists are like, no, that's actually what extincted the dinosaurs.
So the idea that the flood caused the dinosaur extinction directly was pretty common a few decades ago. But now almost all creationists that I'm familiar with say that Noah took dinosaurs on the Ark, and they only went extinct afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess that you could say that sometimes they change their minds too, based off of reasons.
Well, basically, it comes down to, okay, so if Noah took on all the terrestrial vertebrates, that would have to include dinosaurs, because otherwise he wouldn't have taken on all the terrestrial vertebrates.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I guess.
The question is how many dinosaurs we have to put on there, and we'll cover that in a minute. So
putting it there does not actually help very much, because putting it next to those houses really drives home how not gigantic the Ark is ultimately.
Yeah, how many people live in each of those homes? Is that like a classic nuclear family? So
Probably.
Maybe you're fitting like 5, maybe 6 people in those homes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got, that's like a total of 20 people.
Yeah.
Living comfortably.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, so you're going to be taking care of 2 of every kind of animal right there. Just look at like a normal zoo, right? That has far fewer animals and takes up way more space.
Football field?
Yeah, that's a football field.
Why will Americans refuse to use any measurement? Why are you like this?
Chesh. Okay, in defense of the Americans in this instance, there are also 3 numbers given in units of feet on this image.
Oh, great.
450 feet, 45 feet, and 75 feet. Those are units.
Uh,
They're not just saying,
Sure.
look how big it is compared to a football field. They're also giving the actual unit measurements.
okay, fine. I'll let you off the hook this time.
All right.
But I'm watching you.
So there it is.
How many
next to a
hamburgers
football
fit inside the Ark?
A lot.
Megatons.
Yes. Maybe mega pints.
Mega pints.
It was longer than a football field and 3 stories tall, a huge ship, about a medium-sized cargo carrying ship today.
Yes. Now try to take care of an entire zoo worth of animals inside of a medium-sized cargo ship. You know that actually there are cargo ships for livestock transport, right? You know they have a really high mortality rate among the livestock? Like if you send over like 1,000 head of cattle in a livestock shipping ship, yeah, okay. You're not going to get 1,000 head out of on the other side of that. Like, we actually have real world applications with it. And these are ships that actually do have industrial scale HVAC systems that do have things like mechanized cleaning processes to automatically get rid of all the piss and crap.
Need to be seaworthy.
Yeah. Like, this is a thing that modern humans tackle. And they couldn't do it on this ship.
35,000
Plus, these livestock transport ships do not go on year-long voyages. That's another big thing. They don't.
Yeah.
So, like, humans have already been working out how to transport large numbers of animals across the ocean, and it's not easy. And even with the best of
lifeboats did it have?
I mean, probably not enough for the animals.
Safety necessary.
So, yeah, this is the
No
whole
one's
thing.
gonna get in trouble with HR and health and safety.
Seriously. Well, I mean, yeah. It's a good thing. It's a good thing there was no OSHA back in the Noah's day. He would be. There'd be so many OSHA violations.
I know a guy who got saved because he read that and he goes, "There's no way they could have known that was the most seaworthy vessel back then."
I'm sorry. You know a guy who converted to Christianity because he thinks that the Ark was particularly seaworthy.
Surely that was right.
Well, yeah. First of all, I don't believe that guy was very knowledgeable about ships.
Fake story.
But yeah,
fake story.
I'm drinking for stories
fake
that didn't
conversation.
happen. Yeah, this is not a thing that happened.
We press X to doubt in this house.
I think at closest you might have found someone who was already seriously considering becoming a Christian and who was looking into young Earth creationism and then found someone saying that the Ark was a shipworthy design and was like, oh, that's really cool. And it helped edge him a little bit closer towards being a Christian. And then eventually he made that leap. That's the best I'll say. I refuse to believe that anyone was like, oh, I used to be an atheist like you, but then I took an Ark seaworthiness to the knee. That's not a thing. Silver Harlow for $5 says, wasn't the flood before Moses told... Yes, okay, sorry, there was grammar. Wasn't the flood before Moses told us what animals are clean? Yes. So, there is that. You could make the argument that, like, maybe that knowledge had been lost as people drifted away from the one true religion that Noah practiced and into their various uncouth heathen religions of paganism, and that therefore God had to remind Moses about what the deal was.
Have you ever looked at, like, religious TikTok or, like, religious YouTube shorts? Because they pop up on my feed every so often as I'm doom scrolling, and they are bizarre.
Yeah, a lot of them are really bizarre. I feel like I only get the most bizarre ones, though, because my YouTube algorithm is all sorts of messed up. They're like, hey, you want to see the dumbest thing available?
Isn't bizarre. Yeah, right? It's just like, what? Why?
Yep. All right. Here we go.
How did that get in there? God must have told them the dimensions, and it's from ancient times before they knew about what we know now. And that just convinced them the Bible was written.
Dude, it's from ancient times where people had boats, right? Like, okay, real talk here. Genesis was compiled during the Babylonian exile, a time when how to make a boat was well understood by many people. The fact that the Ark was a scaled-up version of a smaller boat shouldn't be surprising given the fact that, again, this text was compiled and edited during the Babylonian exile. I'm sorry, it doesn't go back to Moses. There almost certainly was no character that we could ascribe to being Moses. He's almost certainly a legendary character.
Dapper, there's only America and not America, and nothing beyond what Americans were capable of when they got here it was available before America.
Well, yeah, especially since America is now 2,023 years old. That's pretty sweet. That's how dates work.
Yay!
Savage Great Comfort's editor, Cobra, for $5 says, Christian fundamentalism, getting pissed off at imposing modern understanding onto texts. Except when they impose their views onto the texts. Yeah, that happens a lot.
There's something that's just a little bit annoying at just the assumption in general that people that lived a long time ago were just stupid.
Yeah,
like,
that is...
What?
And I want to be fair, though. That also is an
Not
assumption...
only... Yeah, it's just the general assumption.
I get that a lot from a lot of atheists, right? You get from the people who are like, the Bible was just written by a bunch of ignorant Bronze Age goat herders. No, actually, it was mostly written by highly educated scribes in the Iron Age.
Right.
Very different groups of people there. In fact...
Well, and there's also, like, why are you discounting people who had to make a living herding goats as if they didn't know their craft or were intelligent at all?
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, dude, what do you get against goat
They just
herds?
weren't educated, right? Like, they just weren't educated because it wasn't a necessity at the time. And keeping in mind, can we not forget that required education is new? Like, it's not that old.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that is true.
Standards of education are still, like, in its infancy.
All right, here we go. More Pete.
My God, not man. So there's another
not bad.
view of it just to give you different images to see how big it was.
Okay.
So in Genesis chapter 7, the Lord said, "Come into the ark."
Look, things like that, where that person just sneezed, coughed, or whatever. This is why you give your talent a lapel mic, right?
Yep.
Now, I would say, like, get a boom mic, but, like, you probably don't have a dedicated boom guy, so, like, whatever, don't do that. Lapel mic, right? Don't just record on your camera.
Even like a directional mic, so that way they can at least everything behind it is not going to get pulled in.
Because clearly what's happening is that this is just an omnidirectional mic on the camera that's closer to the audience than it is to the speaker, which means anytime any noise comes from the audience, it's louder. And also, I had to clean up a ridiculous amount of room noise. There was just ambient room noise throughout this entire thing. And look, lapel mics aren't that... Let's go to Amazon.com. I'm just going to... Right now, we're going to look up how much is a lapel mic. No, not Colm. There's no Ellen.com. Come on. That's on me, though. Amazon.com. There we go. Lapel mic. All right. Let's see. $13. I'm seeing a lapel mic for $13. If you want to go splurge, there's one for $70. $150 for like a set of 3. Set of another 3 that are a little bit fancy, $130. There's another one for $23. Right? Like lapel mics, there's a wide range of pricing, but I promise you can afford a lapel mic. It's not that much money. You can go crazy with it.
Well, especially for a church, right? Like, it's a church expense.
Look,
so.
I'm pretty sure your church can afford like $30 for a lapel mic. It's not that hard to do.
How old is this video?
I think this is from the late 2010s.
Okay, so it's not from like the 90s.
No. For one thing, it's too high definition to be from the
Yeah,
VHS.
I was gonna say, like, the video quality is a little too high. If it was from the 90s, we wouldn't be able to read that screen at this angle.
No.
And that TV probably also wouldn't exist.
Well, yeah, there's that too. That is definitely not a late 90s TV. Late 90s TVs were big boys.
The Lord, when He gives us things like this, He doesn't abandon us and leave us alone. The Lord was on the ark and He invited them in with Him. In verse 1, the animals went into the ark to Noah. History Channel representation of the Ark, I saw Noah chasing down animals while it's already raining.
Oh, the History Channel.
What? I'm just taking a drink for the History Channel having a Noah's Ark special. Remember when the History Channel used to do history?
I'm gonna go see if I can find it.
Man. First it was just history, right? Then it focused down to just Roman history and World War II history. And now it's like ice road truckers and ancient aliens and Noah's Ark. I was like, this is terrible. This is just awful.
Oh. They have a few.
A few Noah's Ark specials?
Yeah, so they had something called Myth or Reality, Hunting for the Real Noah's Ark, and it was season 4 of something or another. And then they had Watch History's Greatest Mysteries, season 4, episode 13. Then the Unexplained Noah's Ark Mystery Puzzles Archaeologists, and then Watch History's Greatest Mysteries, season 4, episode 6.
That makes me sad.
Discovery.com, Noah's Ark Formation Forbidden History.
Oh, goodness.
Remember when Discovery was merged with Warner Brothers? Yeah. Huh?
Yeah. I miss there being educational stuff on TV. I'm not going to watch it.
Hold on.
Then after 7 days, God gave them the 7-day warning, the 2-minute warning in football. He said, you got 7 days, Noah, time to start getting those animals loaded up. Make sure you got all your food on there. 7 days is coming. It gives Noah's exact age. 600 years, 2 months, and 17 days. The Lord shut them in. A very important thing to realize, because the earth was big enough, even though it was a lot flatter, we believe, than it is now. It was heavily covered with vegetation. And there could have been some...
The earth was flatter?
Yeah, he means lower in relief. He does not mean in the sense of a flat earther. He just means that mountains were lower and valleys were shallower. And there's no evidence of this. Literally the only reason that creation... Well, actually, we'll take a drink for it. It's really dumb.
Cool.
So creationists will simultaneously think that Pangaea, which had mountains higher than the Himalayas in the form of what's now the Appalachians and the Atlas Mountains, existed as the pre-flood world. And then they will also, in the same breath, say that the pre-flood world had lower relief, so shallower valleys and shorter mountains, which there's no evidence of. In fact, there's counter evidence of this. And the only reason they think it is because the Bible says the floodwaters were taller than the tallest mountain. And that's easier to believe if the mountains are shorter. That's literally it.
Does that mean the Earth is gaining information by getting taller?
It must, right? Yeah.
Let's hope.
I guess the Earth just has more and more information because it's the tallest peaks keep
I
on
guess
growing.
So.
Yeah. Mount Everest is growing right now as we speak. Mount Everest has never been taller than it is right now. Too Young to Feel This Old for $5 says, I'm late getting to the stream because we just did my youngest's 3rd birthday party. Well, happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy as always to see you both. Time to crack open a beer. Enjoy. All right, here we go. Let's get some more Pete in.
Somebody coming to get on the ark that Noah didn't know about. But God knew that nobody else was coming. He drew up that entryway to the ark. After that, nobody else could get on there.
All right, this is just a point, right? Dude, you're a pastor. You should be good at public speaking. Don't just randomly trail off for no reason.
Especially since you're looking at a script.
Right.
And some people thinking, think when the rain started falling, when the fountains of the great deep broke open.
Dude, stop trailing off!
I can't hear you.
My goodness, I can't even imagine the people who were there in person could hear him as he's like in the fountains of the great deep.
You're already boring, and you're not doing yourself any favors, dude. Please.
How is this? Like, legitimately, how is this guy someone who's a pastor that people listen to as a preacher?
Why? Yeah, I would love to, ask whoever, whatever church this is, and go there and be like, I'm sorry, can you please tell me what it is that you like about your pastor?
Yeah, and he's...
why do you listen to this person? Is he the only one is this a convenience thing?
Yeah, and the thing is, he's in the kind of church where the sermon is the focus of the entire service, right? It's the longest part of the service. It's the part that people are really there for. Everything else is sort of tacked on. And this is who you have as your preacher?
Like, at least get a bow tie.
That would be nice. Although,
At
technically...
least try to be relatable in some capacity.
You don't think the Hawaiian-style shirt with the fish pattern is relatable?
Is that what's on his shirt? I can't tell.
It's fish.
I hope that he has a kid somewhere with a sense of humor, or like a grandchild somewhere with a sense of humor that draws little legs on all of the fish on his shirt.
That would be great.
Pranks him before he goes to
all
wear
of a
it.
sudden repenting of their ways. And I really believe that's something you can say about God. He never brings judgment except to bring people who are practicing evil to repentance so that they can spend eternity with him, because it grieves him.
That's not true.
Oh, I see. So, God committed the biggest genocide imaginable. Or I guess second biggest imaginable, because you guys he didn't kill literally everyone. So, God edged right up to put his toes just right to the edge of biggest imaginable genocide, killing essentially everything. But it's okay, because some people were like, damn, I guess I suck.
I mean, the thing is like, and not everybody was guilty of doing anything, right? Because there would have been pregnant women, there would have been children, there would have been those
little babies.
Unborn. He basically committed the largest abortion you've ever seen.
That's also true.
Like,
Savage Ray Comfort's
and
editor.
kittens.
Yes, all the kittens. Well, yeah, no, all the kittens, because the animals on the Ark were generally adults, unless they were too big.
No more kittens. No puppies.
Well, eventually there will be puppies and kittens again.
Yeah, but not any of the ones from before.
True. Savage Ray Comfort's editor, Cobra, for $2 says, now I want a Tiktaalik Hawaiian shirt. That would be cool. That would be cool.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we know that's just not the case. We know that God has brought divine punishment on people who didn't do anything wrong.
I mean, yeah, a lot of the people who would have been killed in the flood would have been in that category.
A lot of people who would have been killed during the Egyptian Passover would have been would have been killed as well. And as well as Job is a story of a thing that happened.
Nah, maybe Job's kids were dicks. We don't know.
Oh, sure. There's also Lot's wife who,
She
disobeyed
looked
her.
back. Yeah.
Because her husband told her that God said so. Because it's a really bad habit of God doesn't tell women anything directly.
Look, Chesh. Women can't understand the awesomeness of God, so he has to talk to dudes.
How dare she look at the amount of horror that God is raining down upon the only life she's ever known? How dare she glance backwards?
Yeah. Exactly. Deserved it.
Yeah, alright.
Alright, there we go.
To be fair, I'd be pretty salty.
They do it to themselves.
Speak up, my dude.
Are you speaking? What?
I think that's the truth that you'll find in the Bible over and over, and it will be true of the next judgment. The tribulation is going to bring a lot of people into the kingdom.
Yeah, okay. Wake me up when the tribulation starts, buddy.
And that's why it's going to happen. Because God wants us there. So, the Lord shut them in. Now 17 through 24. Now the flood was on the earth for 40 days. The waters increased and lifted up the ark. So we're talking about when it was raining, okay? And the waters of the fountains of the great deep had opened up.
By the way, the fountains of the great deep are holes in the bottom of the ocean that God stops up, that he can release to let in the water of the cosmic ocean, which surrounds the earth both above and below, into the earth. Because again, remember, ancient people didn't know that air was particulate matter that had to be displaced by water. So there was no idea about that was a problem that God would need to overcome, right? You can just fill the land up. So this whole thing depends on an ancient Near East cosmology with flat Earth surrounded by a cosmic ocean on all sides, including above.
Something physics.
Yeah.
The waters prevailed and greatly increased on the earth, and the ark moved about on the surface of the waters, and the waters prevailed exceedingly on the earth, and all the high hills.
Okay, but at what level, how high, what elevation would they have been surviving at? Because, like, that would be kind of insane unless, like, all of the air pressure and everything just expanded equally outward, which still wouldn't work because it'd still be getting larger, which means it would still disperse.
But you're forgetting about the fact that the mountains are shorter.
So
they're not actually as high as you think they are.
Yeah, they would still have to be higher, though. That elevation would still be significant.
Like Denver high, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you can survive fine in Denver. I've done it. I've been to Denver.
Yeah, I've never been to Denver. I imagine I would die immediately.
No, well, I mean, maybe you. I don't know, but I didn't.
Yeah, but you're bigger than I am.
I mean, that seems like it would be a bigger problem for me then. I have more trouble getting oxygen around my body.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Under the whole heaven were covered. The waters prevailed 15 cubits upward. And the mountains were covered. And all flesh died that moved on the earth, birds and cattle and beasts, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and every man.
Okay, so again, all those things that AIG likes to say weren't on the Ark. The creeping things. I'm just going to take another drink. For once again, the Bible confirming that no, Noah did have to take the termites and the snails and the ants on.
I just think that these things were just around. They weren't contained in any way, so they were just hanging out.
Yeah. Oh, time to open up my second can of this.
Hey.
You know, I think my complaint is slightly too sweet. I probably would have cut back on that if I'd mixed it myself.
Oh, you got a lime? Put a lime in it.
I don't have a lime.
Ah.
Yeah.
That would help.
All in whose nostrils was the breath of the spirit of life, all that was on the dry land died. So he destroyed all living things which were on the face of the ground, both man and cattle, creeping thing and bird of the air. They were destroyed from the earth. Only Noah and those who were with him in the ark remained alive. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff there that's very important because we have theistic evolutionists.
That's true. A group of people with whom I have no particular problem.
Progressive creationists.
A group with whom I have fewer. No, progressive. Not aggressive.
Oh, progressive. Sorry, I thought you said aggressive.
No,
I was like, aggressive in what way?
So, progressive creation is something that's not really very common anymore. It was really common in Darwin's time. And the idea is that, so you look at the fossil record, right? And there's this obvious thing called faunal succession, right? The animals that you find in the lowest rocks change into a different group of animals in higher rocks, and it happens several more times, right? So, at face value, the fossil record looks like a bunch of different epochs with different groups of animals dominating the land and the seas at different times, right? So, there's a question is like, well, how do we account for this? And so a lot of people in the late 19th century had this idea that it was progressive creation. So God creates the, say, Devonian group of animals, right? He's like, okay, this is the animals that populate the earth. And then after a while, he's like, all right, kind of tired with this whole Devonian thing. Let's do like a Permian thing. So then God creates the Permian animals. And he's like, okay, that's boring. Let's do the Triassic. Bring on, the Phytosaurs. And so then God creates the Phytosaurs and the early dinosaurs and the whatever, right? All the Triassic critters. Then eventually you get to the tertiary, as they might have called it at the time. And God creates all the big land animals, gets rid of all the dinosaurs. And so this was called progressive creation because the creation of the world is still miraculous and still special creation of different organisms, but it happens progressively throughout the geological time. So it's a version of old Earth creationism, and it doesn't have a whole lot of place for a worldwide flood, but some people thought that there was maybe a tranquil flood that didn't leave any geological evidence. So, yeah. Anyway, here we go.
Somebody made a prediction.
What do
in
we
the
got?
chat. X said, I'm feeling generous, and I'm going to predict that he's about to bash all the science-accepting Christians as not really Christians.
That would not be terribly surprising. They tend to creationists tend to vary on how generous they are towards other viewpoints within Christianity. So sometimes they'll say, "Oh yeah, they're Christians, but they're mistaken." Sometimes they'll say, "Oh no, these are barely even Christians. How can they deny the obvious truth of the Word of God?" So yeah, I'm not sure what.
So obvious.
Yeah. Clearly, that's why people who believe in sola scriptura have never had any internal schisms. Yeah.
Over witches and necrophilia and demon ladies.
Is that a schism? Hard to say. Maybe.
Yeah.
It's something.
Maybe.
It's definitely something.
Gap theorists and others in the Christian church, as well as the long-age evolutionists who insist that the layers were laid down over millions of years.
I mean, because of the physical impossibility of having layers on Earth that were not deposited by a flood. Physically.
Insist.
Right, yeah. It's kind of like saying, oh, you just insist that cake was baked instead of popping out fully formed from like an ear corn, like the husk of an ear of corn. Because that's how I think cake come about. And I'm like, well, that sounds physically impossible. It couldn't fit. There's no way to bake all those things. I genetically test like the wheat here, and it's wheat, not corn. There's clearly dairy products in this. There's shortening with sugar mixed in to make frosting. That doesn't come from corn. And you're like, oh, you just don't have enough faith. Like, oh, okay, cool, yeah. It's the same thing, right?
Sure.
Like when someone's like, oh, hey, this fine-grained, non-flocculated shale and that limestone over there, flood deposits. And I say, okay, well, that's physically impossible, right? For all these physicsy reasons. And you're just like,
right.
Yeah, no, it's totally what happened. Oh, okay, cool. Like, what do you do with that? You just say, okay, cool. It's like when, a 7-year-old has the wrong idea about something and is insistent. You don't argue with them. You say, cool thing, buddy. Have fun with that.
Yeah, I've been doing that on Twitter today.
Oh, yeah.
In the last couple of days. Like, oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
No one asked.
Yeah, it really is getting to the point where, like, I'm going to start treating young Earth creationists, like professional young Earth creationists at least, like they're basically like they're 4 or 5. And they,
yeah.
Like, what else can I do? Like, I could be mean, I guess. And sometimes I am, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's like situational. It just kind of depends on what you're dealing with and sort of like what's the instigation and then like how it goes from there.
Yeah. Well, let's get
if they come to you, I feel like they're asking for trouble.
Actually,
they know what they did.
When creationists come to me, I'm usually actually much more polite than I am otherwise. In part because like they're opting to come and like be on a platform with me and engage in a dialogue with me, and I'm much nicer when you do that. Instead, when you do things like you make shitty little whiny YouTube videos in which you don't even respond to the video that you're pretending to respond to, that's when I like to give back that kind of energy, which to me is extremely disrespectful energy.
I think there's something to be said about like matching, like you give what you get. It's the eye for eye kind of thing. It's like if you start with me, you're gonna get what you give. It's like you reap what you sow type of scenario. But then again, I also deal with people who are far more directly garbage. Right, like just being raw. Like you have a leaning of assuming, and it makes sense for you and your brand, right? And like what you do to assume that they are ignorant, or they actually just don't know, or they've brought up in a scenario where they have not been given the information. Whereas for me, I'm like, oh, but no, I already know you're a dick.
By the way, for $2, DM wear the butler's wing. Hashtag Triconodon Justice says, convenient. He just hasn't been on camera. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. That's what's going on. All right.
Kind of like Shad's wife.
Jake Nelson says, the Sal dig. I was actually thinking of Robert Carter, and then I only then realized that also applied to Sal Cordova.
Oh no, Sal, why?
Yeah, well, you've seen the Bitchmade timer, right?
Like
He's at 138 days of being Bitchmade.
I can't defend that. If you're not gonna address the thing, then just don't. Yeah. Don't pretend you're doing something you're not.
And the thing is, I wouldn't have put it up except that he made a response video to me, but didn't watch the thing he's responding to.
Yeah, that's no good.
Mm-mm.
You gotta be held, like, if the standard's gotta be consistent, man. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
If it's not consistent, then what integrity is there to be had?
I wish I could say some, but it doesn't seem like it. All right, we're going to get a little bit more Pete Greer in, and then we're going to be wrapping things up. So here we go. A little bit more Pete.
Sounds good.
And that God used evolution to bring about man. So they have to claim that the earth is millions of years old. The flood had to be a local flood. Because if it's a worldwide flood, we know what the evidence is. We see it on the earth.
Or there could be no flood.
Or
and
no
there
flood.
are just floods that have happened throughout history that it's reasonable to say, okay, well, maybe one did happen and it was over here.
I will say this, though. We're going to take a drink for him getting something right. If there had been a global flood, it would be evident all over the world. It just isn't. So,
Correct.
all right,
Technically
everybody.
correct.
So let's start wrapping things up. Chesh, do you have anything that's coming up that you want to tell people about on your channel?
So I have a video coming out on Monday. If you like people dunking on the other dumb people, that's a thing I do. So that's happening on Monday. If you didn't catch Dumbfeck Friday this Friday, it is a long one, but that is because we give bigots no quarter. And so I basically the videos that are coming out in the next couple of days and the ones that are on, because I'm doing like Twitch and then editing them into videos. So I'm doing kind of like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B sort of thing. You can find me at all those places. But as far as I'm concerned, the people I've been talking about recently can get fucked.
There it is. You did it. You dropped it. All right. Mark Kanunian Singh Smith, who's been a member for 8 months, is at the tetrapod level, says, "For Vishanti," with 3 gross, disgusting pelagic tunicate emojis. Unbelievable. Thank you very much, Mark. Let's see. Let's take a look at what I've got coming up. So, on Tuesday, Kent with Bent. Back with Kent with Bent. No 2-2 this time.
Yay!
But you guys could get him a 2-2 on the 12th. If, we do well enough. So that is the 5th of September, 2023. On the 7th, that's the Thursday, we're going to be doing part 3 of 4 of the what's his name? Grady McMurtry. Yeah. The Grady McMurtry series. This one's going to be called What is a Pelvis, I believe is the name of that one. Because Grady McMurtry is going to get basically everything about pelvises wrong. Which is weird because pelvises aren't that, it's not that obscure. Like, most people know what a pelvis is, what a pelvis does, what a pelvis looks like. But apparently Grady McMurtry, no. On the 9th, currently the plan is another Dapper Reacts. I believe Ashanti will be back, so she'll probably be back on the show. I can't guarantee that, though. Then, next thing I'm going to point out is on the 16th, the plan is still to have Dr. Kip Davis and Vishanti on to talk about the behemoth in Job 40, what creationists say about it, what biblical scholars say about it. Kip Davis is, of course, an expert in the Hebrew language and early Jewish thought, and especially the Dead Sea Scrolls. So,
I did a video that featured Dr. Kip Davis.
Oh, did you? That's cool.
Yeah, it was incidental, kind of. So basically, he got into an argument or a Twitter spat or whatever with oh God, who was it? It was, I don't know. I don't remember who it was. Anyway, they were getting fallacies wrong. So I went out of my way and I explained the fallacy to see if Dr. Kip had in fact committed that fallacy or not. Turns out surprisingly, he did not.
Was this a response to Godless Engineer?
No, I've never done. I don't think I've ever done a response to Godless Engineer.
Because I know that Dr. Kip and Godless Engineer have had a
Oh, it was the Appeal to Authority video.
They've had some interactions on Twitter. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it was Kip talking to somebody on Twitter named Lucius Quincius Sincitius, or also known as @NotSureXP. Anyway, they accused Dr. Kip of the Appeal to Authority fallacy, and I went, is it though?
Strawberry Artery Official Bootleg Edition for $5 says, "Remember, plants are evil sinners too. That's why they all had to die." True.
Yeah.
Plants are the worst. All right.
They are so rude.
Well, everybody, I want to say thank you very much. You guys have made this, once again, successful stream. I had fun. Chesh, you have fun?
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
I like being here. It's a good time.
if you are a channel member or a patron, that means you can get access to the Discord server, and I will be heading over there to watch a few episodes of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. So we're going to go galactic over there, and I'll see all of you either there or on Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovind, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Elron Teller, Phil Havara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostick Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Monkey They Them, Mrs. Spexinder, Sphincter of Doom, and the Venerable Bede. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.